Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I've been putting off this video for months. Last thing you watched would have been Max and I going to our dating scan at 7 weeks. That was the 11th of November. It is now the 18th of February. This whole time, don't mind my hair by the way, I'm getting ready to go out. This whole time I've been really putting off making this video because I just don't want to make it. I didn't know how to start. I didn't know what to do. I think I'm going to try and do it without crying. It's been 2.5 months since then, so I should be okay. Basically where we left off was the 11th of November. Max and I went for our 7-week scan. I'm just going to do my makeup while I talk to you guys, and my hair is not going to stay like this. Obviously I will brush it out. So we were going for our 7-week scan. I've got a mirror right there, so if I look that way, I'm sorry. I'm just going to try and do this nonchalantly as I can. So forgive me if I'm not looking at the camera, if I'm looking over there. I'm going to try and do this mechanically so I don't have to, I've written down notes so I don't have to, you know, get emotional about this. I was emotional enough until this point, so I've got hopefully composure to do this. So basically, I'm using, by the way, the It Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC cream in a medium, which is perfect for me now that I'm tanned. Basically, we went for our 7-week scan on the 11th of November, and there was no heartbeat. To be fair though, there was no fetal pole. So we laid down, and I had heard about this happening maybe for the first time a couple of weeks before that. So I've never even heard this was a thing. Like, I didn't know that could be a thing, right? Like, I didn't know. So we went there and I lay down, and the lady started doing an external ultrasound on my belly, and she said within, I kid you not, within 20 seconds, oh yeah, here we go. Here is the gestational sac. Oh, there you go. I can see a yolk sac, but I cannot see a fetal pole. And I just died. I literally could not stop myself from crying. I started crying immediately because I knew what that meant. That probably meant that there was no baby. So I started crying immediately, and then the poor lady kept trying to find it. And I have a retroverted uterus as well, means my uterus is going backwards towards my spine. So she had trouble confirming what she was saying, that it's basically empty. She measured my gestational sac, she measured my yolk, and she basically said to me that it could be potentially too early. But at that point, I'm 7 weeks and we should already be able to see a fetal pole. You should be able to see a heartbeat, hear a heartbeat. If not, you know what I mean? If not hear it, you can sometimes just see it rather than hear it. So I was just devastated. I knew immediately what that meant. I knew there was something went wrong. I started crying straight away, and then the lady asked me if I wanted to do an internal ultrasound to confirm, and I said, let's do an internal ultrasound. She said it was even worse trying to see anything with the internal because of my retroverted uterus. So basically, we left there not knowing anything. I was there for about 45 minutes. She tried her best to look for something. This is the Instant Age Rewind Eraser. I like it. So she tried her best. She could not see it. So then we left there. I went the week after that was a Friday. So literally the week after, I had an appointment on Monday to see my GP. The GP tried to sort of, oh yeah, it's too early. She tried to make me feel better, but it's not too early. I'm 7 weeks. Like, I should be able to see something. You should be able to, you know, have some sort of a answer. So I got some blood tests done to make sure, to see if my HCG is still rising. And my HCG was rising, but nowhere near what it's supposed to be. So basically my HCG was at like 20,000 or something, 25,000. It should have been in like the 80,000s. So my HCG was still rising, but obviously not high enough. And that obviously indicates straight away that something is wrong. And honestly, my GP disappointed me so much, because I said that to her and she said, oh, you know, during pregnancy, during like, you know, HCG can go up and down, you know, nothing to worry about. And I was just shocked, because in the first 3 months of pregnancy, the second it goes down means you basically have a miscarriage. So to her to say it goes up and down, no, it doesn't. Just no, it doesn't. Up until the 12-week mark, it just keeps going up and up and up. Basically, every 2 days, it doubles up until week 6 or 8. And then it doubles every 4 days, right? So even if I calculated every 4 days doubling from my last scan, I should have been in like the 80,000s. So whether my HCG didn't rise enough, or it rose and then fell without me knowing, because I didn't have a blood test, I don't know. But she tried to sort of, I think she tried to make me feel better, but I didn't appreciate that. I would have preferred for her to say, this is probably more likely what had happened. So they recommended, the ultrasound people recommended I have another scan within 1 to 2 weeks. And I thought, okay, I'll leave it 2 weeks. And I regretted that. I should have left it a week and that's it. But I had to wait another 2 weeks for another scan. So the 25th of November was my second scan. And honestly, that day could not come quick enough. The 25th was our second scan. And to say that we left that place more confused than the first time is an understatement. Let me just do my eyebrows and I'll be right back. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, I lay down on the table. The lady starts doing an ultrasound. And she's, you know, looking. And I tell her what had happened. 2 weeks ago I was there and there was a fetal pole. There is a copy of the report from the previous scan with the referral for this scan, if she wants to have a look. So she has a look, and she's looking and she's looking and she's looking, and she's like, I said, well, is there something there or isn't there something there? Because it's like 5, 6, 10 minutes, she's not saying anything. She goes, I can potentially see something here. I don't know whether it's a fetal pole or whether it's just tissue, but it looks like a fetal pole to me. And I said, okay. And she goes, but it measures 5.5 weeks. Based on everything, I'm at this point 9 weeks pregnant. We cannot have a fetal pole that measures 5.5 weeks. That's impossible. This isn't a natural conception. This isn't like, oh yeah, you know, you miscalculated when your period was. You miscalculated when you ovulated. No, the eggs were taken. We did not have natural intercourse in the lead up to the transfer. So it's impossible that I got pregnant naturally, because they tell you not to do it because there could be a leftover egg or whatever, right? So it was absolutely impossible that I was 5.5 weeks along, because I was 9 weeks along. So the lady was very confused. At this point, Max and I, we finished the scan. Again, I did an internal one as well, and again she couldn't see anything better than, you know, what she saw from the outside. And we were confused. We didn't know what was happening. We were just looking at each other going, what is happening? And then we were waiting for her in the waiting room to give us some pictures, and Max goes, your pregnancy is going backwards. I said, we're having a Benjamin Button. And we literally laughed, because we we just wanted an answer. We just wanted this to be over and done with. Either it's there or it's not there. Like, how can it be there but not really? Like, what was happening? So we went and saw our GP literally next week on Monday after that, and there was no heartbeat. There was no heartbeat in the first one. There was no heartbeat on the second one. So this was basically if in the first scan there's nothing, and in the second scan there's nothing. They call it a blighted ovum, which is like a miscarriage that happened very early on, and the embryo sort of, the way I understand it, gets reabsorbed. But because they found something on the second scan, there was a fetal pole there, but it was measuring very early, means that it probably stopped developing at 5.5 weeks. The reason they didn't see it at the first one was, I don't know, the yolk sac was bigger. It was a lot smaller in the second scan. So they just didn't see it in the first one, but it was there in the second one. So basically, this was a miscarriage without my body realizing that I had a miscarriage. So it didn't actually push the embryo out. It didn't do anything. It just, the HCG kept rising very slowly at this point, or went up and dropped. Again, I don't know. So then I saw my GP afterwards. I changed GPs at this point because I was very disappointed. Even just her knowledge, like general, you can't tell me HCG is okay to go up and down during pregnancy. Maybe later on, but not in the first 3 months. It's very crucial, very crucial. So I went and saw the second GP that I'm going to stay with. And basically he looked at the photos, he looked at all the results and said, I'm sorry to tell you, this is a miscarriage. I know they're recommending another scan, but he goes, there's no point. They're just going to tell you a third time that there's nothing there, or there's no heartbeat, it's not viable. It's basically over. And he said, I'm really sorry, but this is a miscarriage. And he said, I recommend you go and see EPAS. EPAS is Early Pregnancy Assessment Unit, and they're located in all the major hospitals. So this is the only thing that they would is miscarriages. So, well, miscarriages and people who experience bleeding prior to 20 weeks of pregnancy. So I called them. That was a Tuesday, and then on the 2nd of December, which was a Friday, I had an appointment with EPAS, and you meet with a midwife and you take her all the paperwork, you take her all the scans, you take her everything, and she looks it over, and then she goes and consults with doctors. And she said it's really hard to diagnose that somebody's having a miscarriage when there's no bleeding. I had no bleeding, no cramps, nothing. And she said it's really hard to diagnose a miscarriage if there's no symptoms. So she goes, I have to go and speak to doctors and see, you know, what they recommend. They might recommend we have another scan today. She goes, I can put you in for an emergency scan. But she goes, I don't think that's really necessary, because she goes, I don't want you to be put through another scan where they're going to tell you there's no heartbeat. So she left us in the room. Max was with me. And she went and consulted with several doctors. And the doctors basically were all in agreement that this is a miscarriage and that something needs to be done about it, because you can't just, you know, pretend it's not happening. So they gave me options at EPAS. So they said an option is to take some drugs, medications that will make me that will induce a miscarriage. So you would have the bleeding and all that sort of thing. So, and the other options to do are DNC, which is dilate and curate, I think it's called. And I opted for that. I picked that option. Basically, it's an operation. They put you to sleep and they go in through your cervix and they clean out your uterus. And then you wake up and it's all done. So that was on Friday. And then they booked me in for my DNC on Monday morning. So I was in the hospital on Monday, 5th of December. I was there all day. I waited 6-7 hours. And then what happens is they give you a tablet, like a little pessary. The doctor puts it in your vagina up to the cervix. and that helps sort of start to soften up the cervix and to open it a little bit, and you start to sort of get cramps and you get a bit of chills and that sort of thing. But luckily I waited in a chair for 6 hours, six and a half hours, almost 7 hours. I waited in a chair, and then they put me into a bed. The doctor came and gave me the pessary, and this is literally where it sort of hit me what was happening. And I just, luckily I didn't want to cry in front of people. I was there by myself in the room. So I mean, not a room, it's a big room with all the bays and stuff, and they closed it for me and stuff. So I cried and I was really sad. I mean, at that point it had been 3 weeks since this stuff started happening, and I just needed to be over. I just needed it to be over. The torture, the waiting around and not knowing was worse than knowing that I had a miscarriage. Like, I had wished that I had just had a miscarriage in 6 weeks, a natural one, and that would have been it. When I had my DNC, I was 10 and a half weeks. So it's like 6 weeks of knowing I was pregnant. So they give you the pessary, and you sit there, lie there for 2 hours. And then after 2 hours, they come and get you. You go to the operating theatre. They give you anesthesia. You go to sleep. When you wake up, it's all done. So I did that on the 5th of December. I probably had bleeding for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks after that. And in the meantime, I had booked an appointment with my fertility specialist. I brought her up to date with everything that happened, and we put it in a plan for my next round of IVF, because as always, I had nothing in the freezer. So yeah, that's what happened. The amount of time that I cried, the amount of tears from me and from him, and just a heartache knowing what we had to go through to sort of get to that point. And then to be so crushed on that first scan, and then to have another 3.5 weeks of complete uncertainty of not knowing what's happening. But knowing, I knew deep down, like, for me there was no hope. And then for it to be all ending like that, it was just, yeah. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If I didn't touch on something, I forgot, I'm sorry. But yeah, I've been really putting off making this video, to be fair, because I just didn't know how to do it. I wasn't ready, and I'm ready now. I can speak about it without falling apart. But there's no way I could have done this in, like, even in January. Like, no way. So yeah, that's it, guys. We'll try again. The only thing we can do, look at the difference. The only thing we can do is keep trying, I guess, and that's what we're gonna do. We'll try naturally, we'll try with IVF. This is cycle 5. The only issue is, now that I'm 41, my egg count would be lower than when I was 39, obviously. And now my chances drop down to 10%. So it is what it is. We'll try and see what happens. I'm so sorry if this triggers people and you feel some kind of way, but it needs to be spoken about, and it's a natural thing, and a lot of women miscarry every day, and this needs to be spoken about, and it's not taboo, and it might help somebody else know that they're not alone, and you are not alone. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, leave a comment. Anything you need to know, I'm here for all the chats. So feel free to say anything you need to say. Thanks for watching.